What's good, everybody, and welcome to our live Friday episode of Just Our Opinion podcast with me and my amazing husband. What's going on, Vaughn? Happy Friday.
Hey, honey. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday.
So, it is Tigers opening day.
Yes, it is.
That's why everybody's in their Tigers gear. We have been downtown pretending to be grown all day. Acting, being grown all day. As grown as we can, as grown as we can be today until we had to go get the kids.
Pretty much. 4 o'clock, fun ended.
I know, right? Shut down right at 4 o'clock.
Back to adulting.
Right. But it was cool because we like really had some fun. Went down to one mic. We rode the scooters
Yes.
around
I
downtown.
don't know what I did, but my Achilles heel is hurting. So just happened to be over 50 trying to ride on scooters downtown.
A note to the 50 and over crew:
Yeah.
scooters might not be their thing.
Yeah, just might be better off walking. Just walk and enjoy the scenery.
So yeah, I believe the parties is still going on down there.
Yep.
I know one mic is open tonight until 2 a.m.
Go in there, get you a good drink. Who's your girl, the bartender?
Oh, we got to post that video.
Okay.
We got to post a video. But
Okay.
some amazing bartenders at one mic. One mic is black owned, so you know how we roll.
Excellent food too, not just drinks, but food. The food.
Yeah,
is good there,
absolutely. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
make sure y'all go downtown. If y'all not free tonight after
Yeah.
y'all finish watching y'all favorite podcast, y'all can go downtown. And if you happen to have to work today, sorry for your luck. Y'all know Detroit does opening day. Y'all supposed to take the day off. But if you had to work today, you can go catch the evening crew
Yep.
of opening day.
So worthwhile to hang out. Tigers won, beat the Oakland A's. So
Right.
it's a good
Right.
day.
It's a good day. It's a good day. So, honey, tonight we're talking about overcoming challenges in
Okay.
relationships. And basically, no relationship is perfect, right? We know that. We know that
Unless you're married to me.
no relationship is perfect. So,
I'm just gonna ignore my comments.
no relationship is perfect. No person is perfect. So, we're going to kind of discuss, some of the ways to overcome challenges, disagreements, how to handle disagreements, trust issues, those external pressures, those things that happen outside of your marriage that spills into your marriage. Strategies that work, don't work, and maybe we can help some people out. Maybe
Okay.
we can use our test as testimonies.
Okay.
And
My first piece of advice, ladies, marry a Q. You'll be happier.
that's your first piece of
My
advice.
first piece of advice, marry a Q. You'll
Marry
be
a
happier.
Q is your first piece of
Yes.
advice to overcome marital challenges.
Yes, that's right. Marry a Q. Problem solved.
You know what? Because I married a Q, I guess I can't argue that. However, okay. I know some Omega first wives that wouldn't agree. I know some first wives of Omega
Look,
that didn't make the long haul that wouldn't agree with that.
yeah, well, okay.
I'm just saying, and I'm not even just talking about yours.
You gotta personalize it, huh? Just bring something up, huh?
I was just talking about yours, Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So perhaps some of the advice we're going to
The
give
advice
is based
I'ma give
upon
you
our
is-
failures as well as successes.
Well, so to piggyback off of his advice, if you're gonna marry a Q to have a good marriage, maybe you should be his second wife.
Wow. No, I know bros that first wives in and, been married 20, 30 years more.
Y'all don't come, bros don't come for me. I'm joking. Kinda.
So, bros on the first marriage.
Like them second marriage bros, like, yeah, she might have a point. Yeah, she may have a point. Okay, so again, we're discussing, those challenges that come
Okay.
up in every marriage, those things that everybody like to honestly throw under the rug that happens in marriages, because that's the stuff that those small foxes that if you don't handle the small things, they turn into big things.
Let me get my solution. So my solution is buy an extra large comforter. So when she tries to piggy roll in it, and you're not stuck with the corner getting cold, just get the extra. That's what you're talking about, right? That one thing everyone has in the marriage. that one problem when the wife hogs all the covers.
Maybe. However, some wives do that on purpose. Like they have a king size bed and can put a queen size comforter on it. So when they
Mm.
mad,
the pettiness. I'm gonna talk about some of her pettiness as we talk about disagreements in relationship later.
oh yeah, because I'm petty in disagreements. I'm
Oh
real
yes,
petty.
very.
I'm real petty in disagreements. I do real petty things.
I got a new term I'll coin too.
Okay, whatever. So I guess let's share. Let's use our test as testimonies. Let's share some of the things and honestly just be transparent.
Okay.
Some of the things that we've been through and had to overcome and had to work through to get to us about to celebrate 10 years of marriage this year.
It's been that long.
It's been that long.
Mm.
Yeah, I ain't killed you. However, as soon as I crossed that 10-year mark, every attorney in the world like she did it. It was a joke.
It's a
It was a joke.
unfortunate accident. We're gonna lose her this summer. She was covered in honey, and those murder hornets got her.
How was she? Never mind.
She couldn't get in the house.
She
The
couldn't
honey
get in
just
the
kept
house.
coming down on her.
She couldn't get in the house, and she was covered with hornets and got attacked by murder hornets. You know, those didn't turn out. Those didn't turn out in the finale
As we thought.
as we thought.
It was on my bingo playing card of pandemics and supernatural occurrences of 2020.
Yeah,
So I'm a
they
little
they
disappointed with that
disappointed
one.
us. They
Yeah.
disappointed us. So, okay, what are some of the things that we've had to overcome in our marriage? We'll just, like I said, let's use our test as testimonies and see if we can help out another couple, another married couple that may honestly be going through some things that we've been through and don't know how to handle it or don't know that you can even overcome it. Because let's be very clear, when you're in the thick of things in your marriage, it seems like the end.
Oh, yeah. I mean, any argument can take a turn for the worse and you can definitely find yourself on the phone with your divorce attorney the next day.
Yeah, like
So
and we've been there.
yeah,
We've been at the point where this argument is our last one.
yeah.
This one is it. This is it. And
Reminds me of that tattoo. It says, "I don't like to say something to you twice," and it's got the girls and crossed out, and then Rebecca crossed out, and on the arm.
right. So I'm gonna jump right into the some difficult ones
Okay.
that we've been able to overcome.
Okay.
We've been able in our marriage to successfully overcome communication issues.
Okay. Communication. I would probably also say you might want to. We could talk about family and how they affect your marriage and relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. In-laws can be a huge thing in a marriage that you have to overcome. So let's take one, give some examples, and then just how we were able to overcome those things. Which one you want to go with first?
Uh, start with we'll start with communication's huge. Obviously, I think
And communication is always a work in progress with us too.
it
Like
is.
that's one that you never really perfect.
It is. I will say again, I think that communication is really important in a relationship because a lot of other issues you may have can be overcome with good communication.
Right.
You know, if you don't have good communication, then it can whatever that underlying issue is can be compounded because you're not able to communicate effectively, share different views, perspectives, and hopefully come to an agreement on how to move forward.
As well as bad communication can cause problems that weren't there.
Yep, that's true.
You can be talking about one thing, and because the communication is bad, because you guys aren't listening to each other, it can literally snowball into a bigger issue.
Or just the delivery of what you have to say. Sometimes people say it's 5% of what you're saying, 95% of how you say it. So the delivery of what you're trying to communicate could be found to be offensive. Generally, that's what that saying has to deal with. Therefore, it's not taken how it should have been taken.
I think for me, and just in full transparency, and I believe that there's probably a lot of women that also deal with this problem, I have a tendency to emotionally get loud. Not necessarily, that I'm yelling at you.
I hate that.
I know, but I have a tendency to emotionally raise my voice and get loud and, just be loud. And it's not even that I'm yelling at you. It's just that in the heat of the moment and emotionally, I've gotten loud now. And now we're in a fight that I didn't intend to become a fight.
Yeah, I agree because that does happen a lot, and I'm usually good at trying to be level, but sometimes if I'm at my wits end, then I immediately get loud as well, and then it's, well, why you get loud with me? Because you was loud with me first. No, I wasn't. Yes, you were.
And it's something that I don't even necessarily notice when I do it. So I think, and I think our therapist said it best, that that's that time with communication in a marriage where the other person stops and says, in love, you know, honey, you're getting loud. Can we bring this down so we can have a respectful and conducive conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a good strategy to utilize. How, in reality, how often it can be utilized or be adhered to by the other party will take some degree of maturity. I think, being the age group that we are now, not that we were together when we were 20 and in our 30s, um,
I was. I was with you through all my 30s.
you were. But let me just say, so being younger, 10, 15 years ago, I don't think I would have had the maturity to be able to implement that solution. Um,
Hell,
I
we
mean,
barely have the maturity to
I was,
implement that
I was
solution
just going to
now.
say that, right now it's more in theory than actual regular practice, but nevertheless.
Like our
Uh,
therapist said, it works. Like, and that's the transparency that I'm talking about, that I want to be with people. Like, let's be very clear. Like, there are four people making our marriage work right now: God, me, him, and our therapist. Like, real talk. Like, that is what's getting us through right now. So my advice to any married couple that's hitting bumps in the road: go to therapy before those bumps turn into mountains.
yeah, well, what our therapist has continued to quote is that little foxes spoil the vine, and if you don't deal with the smaller issues, they will eventually become the bigger issues to deal with. So I think again, communication, learning that, as you mentioned before. I think more specifically, one thing we've learned and to understand and look at is, don't look at it from your viewpoint necessarily. Try and understand it from your spouse's viewpoint. What are they saying? Is that part of their personality? Because I know one thing you're really good at is you know um, you will have a tendency to take things either largely from a negative viewpoint is the best way to say it. Whether it's how you would interpret it, or I said it, this is how I feel about it, basically, as opposed to, okay, well, you know, I don't necessarily think negatively or think harmful in terms of what I'm saying. So what I've said, may not be how you've interpreted essentially.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think the flip side of that, though, is when it comes to people outside of our marriage that could possibly cause problems in our marriage, I feel like that same mentality that you use, where you don't take things and you don't see things negatively, also makes you naive to certain situations.
Oh, that was personal, huh?
No, I'm just saying. Like, I think it allows you to put blinders on and makes you naive to certain situations, and how people are acting and how people are moving and things like that, because you always want to see the positive. Like,
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
true.
want to take it like that.
I mean, I will admit there are, times in retrospect when I think about things, how people may have interacted with you. I'm like, you know what, they were wrong as hell for, what they did or how they acted at that point in time. But during the actual time we were experiencing it, I didn't think much of it. But in hindsight, I was like, they were wrong for doing it.
And I think that's something that has caused a problem with us in our marriage too, because I usually see it.
Identify it when it
I see it
happens.
right then when it
Yeah.
happens.
I'm like, what you mad about?
And I'm mad as all hell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And trying to figure out why. you ain't got my back on being mad as hell, and now I'm mad at this situation and I'm mad at you for not having my back, for being mad as hell and checking the shit out this person, when because I didn't honestly take that step back to say no. He's kind of the type of person that he tries really hard to not assume the worst out of people,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I'm not necessarily assuming the worst. I just heard what the hell you said. I heard you playing with me in my face. I
Yeah.
saw you.
Yeah.
You know?
I keep thinking that when we were out and that when we've been out before and women have said or did stuff to me that I wasn't paying attention to, and you're like, oh, they were flirting with you, something like, and things like that have happened,
Right.
and I didn't think twice of it.
It's funny because we recently had a situation. Like I said, just sharing stories, being transparent on how to overcome them. We recently had a situation, and just to give you guys a backstory, my husband had ran into this young lady, and I wasn't there when he initially ran into the young lady. She was flirting with him, clearly flirting with him. I'm talking holding his hand too long and staring him in his blue eyes and shit. Y'all know how that go, ladies. Y'all know how that go. And she was flirting with him, and he wasn't flirting back, but because he's the dude that's gonna, have a conversation, and what do you do for a living, and oh, okay, where'd you go to school, and to a woman that is on the prowl, those type of things are him showing interest.
I think that the younger kids call it thirst now.
Right, right.
Thirsty.
So to a woman on the prowl, he was showing interest. He leaves that particular event. He tells her that, okay, if we do something, with my professional group, I'll let you know. Okay, fine. Maybe, what was it, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, your professional group had an event.
I think it was probably more like a month later. But
okay. His professional group had an event. And I went to this event with my husband. She popped up with a friend of hers that he actually did invite to this event. He never invited this young lady. He had come home. He had told me that, she flirted with him, this, that, and the third, all of that, right? When we get to the event, he stops and talks to the two of them, and I kind of like turn around because I want to say I was playing roulette or something. Like I was doing something. Yeah. And I kind of turn around, and he's like, oh, this is my wife, Robin. This is blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? And I watched this young lady's face. As a woman, y'all know how we are. I watched this young lady's face completely shift. Like, I could literally hear her thoughts. I heard her say, ain't that a bitch? He married and his wife here. I heard her say it. She never said it out loud, but I heard it. I heard it. The woman across the room heard it. We all heard it. Every woman in the room heard it. And she spent the rest of the night really salty, and she avoided the two of us for the rest of the night, like wouldn't really engage in conversations with us or anything for the rest of the evening.
I mean, but for the record, she didn't really have a need to engage in conversation with us either.
I mean, but even when her friend was, though.
Yeah.
She would not engage in conversation. Yeah, so the next day, I was trying to explain to my husband what happened. And ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I told my husband happened. What happened in that moment was, whether she knew he was married at the time that they met or not is completely irrelevant, because women...
Hold on, but pause. I always have my ring on in public.
Again.
The only time I don't have my ring on is when I am at home. When I get home, I usually take it off.
But again, which is why I said it doesn't matter whether you were married. Because... that doesn't seem to be a deal breaker anymore.
I will agree. And I will say, I usually, when I'm in conversation with a woman, especially when I first meet them, I will usually throw in there something about my wife and my kids, that kind of stuff too. So they know I'm married. Again,
that's not a deal breaker anymore, unfortunately.
Well, it wasn't in the past either, 11 years ago.
Hey, watch your mouth. So I was explaining to my husband what happened was, and he had to look at it in retrospect. You met this young lady. You had conversations with this young lady about what she does and, things about her, blah, 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 blah. In her mind, that was showing interest. You told her, when my professional group has a party, I will let you know. However, your professional group had a party, you did not let her know. She finds out about said party for your professional group from a friend of hers. Now she wants to go with her friend as her friends plus one, hoping to run into you. She runs into you, and you're at this party with your wife. Now, from her perspective, it looks like you didn't invite her specifically because your wife was going to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks specifically like you did not invite this
that
young
is
lady.
way too much woman logic in that for me.
But
to
it's still, but it's still legit woman logic.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, you said it's woman logic. I agree because again, I definitely recognize when the introduction came, the countenance on her face, how it changed, and the whole her demeanor had changed for the night.
Yeah.
So I mean, I definitely agree with that.
So, and that was what I was explaining to him, that he looked like the ain't shit dude at that point. Like, oh, he was flirting with me at the other party and he didn't invite me to this one because his wife was going to be with him. Regardless to what you did and what your intent was or any of that, that was how it looked at that moment.
See, that's a sad state of society where, again, being a gentleman, being polite, being able to carry conversation, because that doesn't occur regularly, perhaps, for her within her circle with men, just generally having a platonic conversation, I'll say, and to think that because you showed some attention or, just a general curious interest to who they are, you're at an event, who are you with, that kind of stuff, what do you do, and that becomes, oh, he likes me.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it does. And then I guess it makes it worse that, you're high value professional,
She didn't know that
Uh,
necessarily.
the type of event that you were at.
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
I was employed.
Right, exactly. So I think in that situation, ladies, unfortunately, we got to give our husbands grace because they stupid. That's just the best way.
Really, that's the summary. Husbands are stupid.
That's the summary that
Love
I
on
have
them
to
anyway.
give. Like, we got to get them grace in certain stuff because they stupid. Like, because he honestly, until I had to break it down in complete woman logic that was obvious to us, he was just like,
you kept saying I flirted with her, and I'm like, how do I flirt with her? All I did was talk to her,
And you did though.
In
her mind, you had all the intent in the world.
See, that's how come they got them songs about busting out your windows and headlights and all that stuff. That's how y'all come up with them crazy songs like that.
Because of woman logic.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big one. You just have to, ladies, we gotta love on them anyway because they stupid. But in all honesty, I think we have to get to a point where we can have tough conversations.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. And I think, again, in order to build trust, you have to have transparency, you have to have truth, you have to learn to be truthful. And unfortunately, when that trust is broken, a lot of times it's hard to rebuild it. So there's always going to be some level of distrust until that trust can be repaired and brought back. And it's something that unfortunately doesn't always happen overnight, depending on what the issue was or how egregious it was. So the fact that I had 2 Reese's cups on the side of my bed and I come back and one is missing, and you said the kids took it, and yet you got chocolate around your mouth and peanut butter residue on your pillowcase. That's something I might be able to get over with, a lot sooner.
What if they did do it and we just shared it? Like, I didn't initially steal it, but I just didn't ask where they got it from.
And that's why your daughter is like you.
Like, I didn't steal it. I just didn't ask where they got it from. So when she walked up to me and said, "Hey, would you like a piece of my Reese's cup?" Hell yeah, them things are delicious. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I was framed. Like, honestly, I was framed.
And that's why you have the daughter you have. You have sown those seeds. You're reaping it now.
Like, I was framed. She needed an accomplice to her,
A willing accomplice.
a willing accomplice to her thievery. Um, I would like to honestly deep dive into a very sticky subject.
Okay. Okay.
Your voice cracked. Your voice
It
cracked. Like, nah, I ain't doing this one. Like you gonna
It's the
unplug your
setup now.
like you gonna unplug your mic and walk off. Can a couple reasonably um heal from infidelity?
Can they heal from infidelity?
Yes.
I guess it depends on. Everyone's different, so everyone has different tolerances. I think we talked about this before. My red line is actually yes, physically cheating is definitely a red line. Like I'd be on the phone with my divorce attorney that moment. I don't care if it's 12 o'clock at night. I'm calling them. Where you have said, okay, that wouldn't be it for me.
Right.
So I think everyone's different to a degree. So it really depends. I think first and foremost on what is your true red line. So if you didn't, it could be the actual sexual intercourse. Is it touching? Is it kissing? What is that actual red line? But let's just say whatever the issue is maybe not at that red line, obviously, because you're still together trying to work it out. So how long does it take you to get over that? And I think there are a couple issues with that. One, is it again? I guess how egregiously close was it to your actual red line? Potentially, how long had it been going on for? I think all those things help to add to the basically the hurt that someone's going to experience when they or the betrayal that they feel. And then I'll say again, how long has it gone on for? How serious was it? And then how much deception was employed to keep that relationship going?
Okay.
You know,
So how could we help our listeners or any other couple to get through or overcome something like that happens in their relationship or their marriage? Because neither of us have had physical affairs. Like that's not happened. So that's unfortunately. Fortunately, that's not something we can speak on.
unfortunately.
Like, fortunately, that's not something we can speak on. However, we've both had situations where the other felt betrayed. Um, when it comes to types of levels of infidelity, I guess is what I would call it.
Okay.
And because we've been through that, are we able to help anybody come through it or
See if you're still here in September.
It's like, are we able to help other couples come through that? Like, what would be your first way if it's not a red line offense? What would be the first step for you?
I guess the first step is, you know, the the party who is guilty of the transgression has to admit to it and fess up to it, and hopefully they are truly sorry and repentant about what they did. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting your time.
Okay.
I mean, that's I think the first step is acknowledgement and repentance that needs to be done.
I definitely agree with that. Also, I think that the couple needs to sit down and decide what healing looks like.
I mean, yeah,
Because whereas you're absolutely right, to your point, you can't rush somebody's healing process. You also can't drag it out for the other person forever and make them suffer for it forever either. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't reasonably expect someone to keep defending themselves, to keep apologizing, to keep having to relive that, because the truth of the matter is, if that person really loves you, then causing you that hurt them.
You heard the saying, "Hurt people hurt people."
Right.
So I mean, unfortunately, you know, if someone's dealing with it and hasn't really gotten over it, or they're still dealing with those issues themselves, they're still hurting. You know, and unfortunately, sometimes people will lash out, or you may say or do something that triggers them to lash out against you, and as you like to say, weaponize. You know what was done, right? So you might, let's say, you accuse me of lying, and I'm like, but you lied about this.
Mm-hmm.
Even though what you lied about may have happened a while ago, right? And what you're accusing me of lying of is not even in the same category. It's just okay. You lied about X. You said you can get the car washed and you didn't do it. And then I'm like, well, you lied about Y. You know,
Right. Well,
and
you
it,
said that you wasn't talking to him in the car. What the hell? The only common denominator was the car.
so yeah, I think that's something to. I agree. I mean, you have to learn to process your hurt as well. But also the person who hurt them has to, understand. Okay, I caused this issue. I need to let them heal and not one be a burden to them healing. So that means again, part of your repentance part. What do you need to do? And one, how do you start earning that trust back? But also that person who had been hurt or wounded from those actions, does have to say, okay, I got to process and deal with this if I still want to be in this relationship at some point. Because you either got to, just say, hey, I'm going to do it, or cut bait and go. At the end of the day.
I agree with that. Definitely agree with that. However, I think it's also easier said than done, because we know that hurt people hurt people. I think it's too easy for people in relationships to fall back into, well, you did this to me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I think one of the big issues in relationships is that people don't fight fair. And what I mean is, if you have a disagreement or a problem in your marriage, y'all need to discuss that problem and that problem only.
I agree with that. However, I'll just say that again, if you're in a relationship and there's been some degree of infidelity, that wasn't fair to the person who was faithful and true. So they might be like, forget your rules of fighting fair. You've hurt me. You know.
But that's the thing. The rules of fighting fair are not somebody's rules. They're honestly kind of the only rules for healthy relationships.
I'm not saying that they're not needed or required. I'm just saying that the reality is such that again, the party who's been aggrieved is usually going to feel that it was unfair and unjustified, for their partner's infidelity, whatever that may be. So I'm just saying that at the end of the day, you know, being mad that that person doesn't necessarily fight fair, especially maybe let's say in the beginning period of the reconciliation and forgiveness process, you know, you just have to deal with it because again, it's not that it's an issue that you also created, and they haven't processed it, so you have to be able to again allow them to process it. Um, now it's not giving them a license to, you know, they stub their toe and be like, and about that time you did this, and bring it up. That's they can't do that either. I mean, they have to be, within some boundaries of I'll say continued limitations. So again, maybe you start out here with it, but it should be trailing off. To your point, it shouldn't be something forever.
I think that we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one, because I think the fight and fair should be something that is a non-negotiable. And I think that should be a non negotiable from the very beginning of a relationship, because a lot of the bigger problems in relationships happen because people don't fight fair.
Well, I get that, but it's like the quote from Mike Tyson about fighting. Everybody has a plan how you're gonna fight
Until
until
you
you
get hit
get
in the
punched in
face.
the mouth. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, now that plan goes away. What are you gonna do? So unfortunately, people react. You know, um, I'll say natural or instinctively is what they react to, and what happens. And when you're in a fight, whether it's a physical fight or you're having, as they call it in church, intense fellowship with your mate. um, so I would like to move to some specifics of not fighting fair as well. I would like to
Okay.
talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
So, but we'll let us finish on your topic. So we're talking about how do you reconcile, how do you save, right?
I mean, no, we're talking about fighting fair, so let's talk about some specifics about fighting fair.
Okay, so fighting fair, I don't think that sex should be used as a weapon. I
Technically,
don't think,
sex is never supposed to be used as a weapon.
and yet it
However,
has been.
it's such a good fucking weapon. It's like somebody run up on your house and you got a chopper inside, and you be like, no, 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 go get my slingshot. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's such a good fucking weapon. Like, yeah, you may shouldn't use it, but it's so pretty. It's such a good weapon.
So we were having intense fellowship last night, and part of that is she came out the shower and lotioned herself up in front of me, talking to me, and then decided to put on her sexy pajamas.
First of all, they were
They were sexy pajamas. They weren't.
no, but
were
they
not
were the
negligee lingerie.
no,
or
they
nothing.
were the
Were they like the boy short.
what no
boxers?
what do I call them? They're the discreet sexy. They're the discreet sexy pajamas. They're just sexy enough to arouse the attention, but not sexy enough to look like you thirsty and trying to give it to them, but just sexy enough to be like, and while you sitting here cutting the food and talking to me crazy, I'm gonna go to sleep just like this. You know what I'm saying? It was just sexy enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that you're not supposed to use sex as a weapon when you're having a disagreement with your spouse or your mate. However, it's such a good fucking weapon.
Well, did it work?
It did.
It did.
It did. It definitely did. And you want to know how it worked? You want to know how I know it worked?
How you know it worked?
Because you were talking about it today.
Mm.
When we finally went back to talking, you were like, and your pajamas last night. Oh, you noticed my pajamas. Because if it didn't work, you wouldn't even pay my damn pajamas no attention.
I thought you wanted makeup sex, and that was your goal, or to push the argument so that I would apologize and try for makeup sex. So I thought I won because I didn't give you none.
No. I won because you noticed it.
I won because you didn't get none.
No, that wasn't it. I wasn't trying to get none. I won because you noticed it. Because the thing about using sex as a weapon, you don't want him touching you in real life, but you want him suffering.
It's all right. I took plenty of time putting my lotion on this morning.
You did. And I rolled over on your ass and walked away and went and put my clothes on. I ain't got time for you. Because that's what you not going to do.
And I kept putting it on until you left.
Because what you not going to do. What you not going to do. Okay, so you said sex, you can't use sex as a weapon in fighting fair. What other ways is not fighting fair? Like I said, for me, not fighting fair is not discussing the issue at hand. If we are talking about, if our argument is about you didn't do the dishes today.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it's fair if we're arguing about you not doing the dishes today to pull back in your bag and be like, and on top of you not doing it, see, you don't never do nothing I asked you to do. I asked you to, you know what I'm saying? Just like 3 weeks ago when I asked you to go do blah, 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 blah. Just like 37 and a half years ago when I was just born and I asked you to go get my Bible. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just be some extreme ridiculousness that people do in marriages and relationships when it comes to disagreements that should not be done. Like, in all honesty, if you're going to have a disagreement with your mate, you need to disagree about what you're disagreeing about at that moment.
You know, I'll throw in there something just came to mind. Family members in your disagreement, especially if you have a family member who will fight on your behalf, right? So we have a mutual friend, right, whose, I think it was cousin, sent the spouse a letter about how she was wrong about how she was treating her cousin. And
I'd have beat the brakes off your motherfucking cousin. That bitch woke up in the hospital.
So
I ain't even gonna lie. Listen to me. Listen to me. Everybody can get it. Everybody can get it. Because the thing that I hold solid on is stay the hell out my marriage. I don't I'm not anybody that knows me knows I'm not an oversharer. That's just not me. I'm not an oversharer. I don't have anyone in my life, like friends and stuff, that I confide in like that, or that you know, even I hate to say it, trust enough to hold my secrets.
hmm
And that's no disrespect or no discredit to any of my friends. It's just that even if I know you gonna tell your husband, you know what I'm saying?
hmm
I don't want to tell you, because now who is he gonna tell? He's not the one that has the relationship with me to hold my secret. You did.
hmm
So nothing stops him now from telling one person and that person telling, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the family, it's the phone tree. It's the
Yeah.
freaking phone tree. So I don't have anyone that I open up and confide to like that. And because I don't open up to and confide in anyone like that, especially when it comes to my marriage, I don't expect to have to hear from anybody else about my marriage.
hmm
And the moment I do have to hear from somebody else about my marriage, it's Vaseline and Jordans at that point. I'm ready to fight because I don't recall saying I do to you. I don't recall going before God and saying that you were the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with.
Yeah.
I don't recall you being the person I sleep with every
I
night.
just thought of something now. This happens probably to guys a lot, and it's not necessarily because there's a disagreement with the spouses, but sometimes, especially for newlywed men, and they'll be out, maybe they'll meet family members of their spouse or friends, and they'll another male figure, usually a family member, might be an uncle or something, or maybe an older brother, and like, yeah, take care of my wife or make sure you're taking care of her. They'll make comments like that, and those can be really insulting, especially to you know if you are taking care of the wife, and everything. It's like, why would they say that? You know.
I think, and especially in the black household, that has become kind of like a regular joke that everybody think is cute.
hmm
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that has become that, and I think it's safe as long as your comment, your little he comment stops right there, and I never have to hear about you in my marriage ever, ever.
Yeah. I will say I've had someone kind of seriously say that to me, and it's actually funny because it was in the first marriage. We were at my godmother's house, Aunt Pat, and I don't remember who the gentleman was in relationship to her family, but I just remember he said something to that effect to me, and I'm like, I ain't never seen you before. If I have seen you, I ain't seen you since I was a kid. And at the time I'd probably been married easily a good, I don't know, maybe 10 years or something. And had a house and everything and all that kind of stuff. So I just thought the dude was completely out of line because of what he said, and knew nothing about what I do.
Right.
So I've always had an issue with that. I don't think I've had anybody, when we've been together, say that,
The only
to
person,
me.
the only person that would have had the right to say that to you wasn't living when we met. So,
Yeah.
like, that would have been the only person that would have had the right. And the reason I say my father would have had the right.
Yeah, well, that's different because I mean, one, I
Yeah.
mean, if he was alive and I wanted to marry, I would ask him to marry.
Right.
Could I marry your daughter, or say, hey, I'd like to marry your daughter. I'd like your blessing
And then at
for
that
that.
point, it's you
You know,
gonna take care of my
but
daughter. You
but,
know.
that's a different conversation as opposed to you know we're married and you pop up, and I've not met you. Maybe whether we've been together 6 months or 6 years, but somebody just pop up, and what even gets my gall even more Is this when somebody ain't doing it themselves?
Right, like, dog, ain't you on marriage number 4? Got 4 kids that you ain't taking care of. You cheating on wife number 4. You had side chick number 3 at the house last week, and then have the audacity to look at me and tell me I better take care of your baby sister. If you don't kick rocks and blow bubbles, you know, however, comma, it's just as bad for a female of a woman's mate, a female family member of a woman's husband or boyfriend, to come at them and say something slick, and they ain't got a man, you ain't never seen them with a man, can't keep a man, you know, basically.
You still ain't took her advice.
Basically, you done failed at womanhood. Like, you've literally failed at womanhood. You 50 years old, ain't never been married, ain't never had a long-term successful relationship, ain't got no fucking kids, and it's you and your puppies, bitch. You failed at womanhood. You failed. You get an F. You failed womanhood. Like, there's certain things that as a woman we are supposed to do.
Yeah, I do agree again. I mean, regardless of men or women that aren't in relationships or have not been in any serious long-term relationship, you know, there's not a lot of advice I think they can provide somebody who is married, period. You know, I'm not even talking about single folks being married.
Listen, my favorite line is, how a bitch with no man gonna tell me how to keep mine? If you knew so much about this process, ma'am, you wouldn't be cuddled up with a teddy bear and a vibrator every night. Let's just be true. Let's just be real. So ain't no single heifer gonna look at me and tell me how to do marriage under no circumstances. I don't want to hear it. Keep that to yourself. You ain't perfected this your damn self.
They haven't even found that cue to marry.
And at the same time, you not gonna be on marriage number 3 telling me how to sustain a marriage. That's another one that grinds my damn gears. You on marriage number 3, and now you the poster child for good marriages. Bitch, if you don't go sit down somewhere.
What if spouses 1 and 2 died in horrible accidents, like being covered with honey and the murder hornets got them?
That better be the case.
You know.
That better be the case. But just because your raggedy ass decided to change husbands like you change clothes, don't mean that you get to get up and be the poster child for good marriage. I don't care how God done worked on your heart. I don't care.
But what if that third marriage has lasted longer than the first 2?
I don't care. Let everybody else have the same trial and error your dumb ass did then.
But that's the purpose of sharing advice and, you know, being a mentor to other people.
It's not, though. It's not. It's so, what it sounds is condescending. What it sounds is like you want to sit here and act like you perfect when all you did was figure out how to make this one last a little longer. The truth of the matter is, what you did was you found one that was going to deal with your bullshit. That's what you did.
Well, I mean, ultimately, that's any successful relationship.
Like, you found somebody.
You got to find somebody who can deal with your bullshit. You find
a successful relationship. Everybody got bullshit. So you find somebody whose bullshit you can deal with, and they can deal with your bullshit. And that's how you have a successful relationship.
Well, yeah.
And then whatever bullshit that y'all can fix, you know what I'm saying? Whatever bullshit that y'all can make better, in that process, y'all make that better.
Well, and I mean, I definitely agree. And even, you know, in the case you're talking about, you know, you pick people badly as a mate for whatever reason. You change as you get older. Sometimes your values change, and the person you're with, their values may not change, or they may change, you know, divergently from yours. You know, so and you might, and now you got new bullshit that you weren't exposed to in the beginning that you might decide I don't want to deal with.
Right.
You know, but I think that's what it comes down to is, you know, you have people, you have to be able to deal with their deficiencies, you know, their character flaws, and still, you know, whatever physical attraction you had to them, whatever mental, spiritual attraction you had that drew you to them, made you want to be in that relationship, hopefully it's still there, you know.
I think my other thing would be, don't marry off of physical attraction.
Definitely not.
Don't do that. That is a horrible freaking idea. horrible freaking idea because lives.
That is true, and
Life is a hell of a thing to happen to a person.
And gravity and age don't mix well.
Usually, I mean, let's be very clear. I was almost 200 pounds a year ago.
You did good work.
Like I was almost 200. I'm down almost 40 pounds now.
Yep.
I was close to 200 pounds. Keep in mind, when you met me, I've always just been this itty bitty, fun sized, athletic built woman.
Yeah.
I've always been that.
Yep.
So to look up, 8-9 years into the marriage, and now fun size is a value pack. You and this motherfucker like, this is not what I signed up for. Did nobody ask you to supersize that motherfucking meal?
I got a picture from a black tie fair we went to.
Dog!
And she is so mad that I still have that picture.
The fact that he put that picture up on his desk made me want to burn the whole office down. Don't you dare.
I'm taking it to work.
Don't you dare. I want everything for them years removed from my records. Every part of it. I want them years removed from the books. Because I don't know who the hell supersized me. It was like, it went from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids to Honey, I Blew Up the Baby really quick. The shit got out of hand. I had a baby, the pandemic happened, life went to life in. And I'm 5'3" and 200 pounds. Do y'all know what 5'3" and 200 pounds look like?
I got a picture if y'all want to see.
Don't do that. Don't play me. Don't come for me.
Look for my Instagram page.
Don't come for me. Don't come for me. But I'm just saying, like, so had you married me with this idealistic Barbie doll in your mind?
Well, I'll say this though. I mean, because that was unexpected. When I met you, we one of the things we did initially dating is we worked out together.
Right.
And then it stopped, and then there were Twizzlers and Twix and
Cakes.
Snickers and cake and pop. He'd be sitting up in bed talking, can you go cut me a piece of cake? Dog, can't you even just get the steps in to go get your own cake?
That's what we doing. But if you'd have had this idealistic Barbie doll in your mind, we'd have had a problem. But at the same time, ladies, I'm coming for y'all. At the same time, ladies, it is not fair for us to look up and be like, well, you just gotta love me for me. This is who I am now. You need to love me for me. That is not fair. That is not fair. Because whereas, no, you are not supposed to marry somebody for physical attraction. No, you are not supposed to marry somebody and have an idealistic Barbie, your Ken doll in your mind. You are still supposed to want to be attractive to your spouse.
Or to yourself, too.
Exactly.
So.
And when I realized that I was not attractive to me or him, something had to change. I couldn't sit up and be like, well, he just gonna have to love this version of me. No, that's how that nigga end up with a side chick. He gonna go find that Barbie doll that you were. And can you really be mad? I mean, yeah, you can be mad because of the betrayal, but can you be mad because your ass decided to sit up and eat bonbons and cookies and supersize and turn into a value pack? And now you went from a fun-size Snicker to a motherfucking Sam's Club case, and now you and that boy, and you ate them all. And now you and that boy want to act like you hurt because he had an affair. That's not fair, and it's not realistic.
Just for the record, she's giving the example. I did not have an affair when she was fat. So.
No, he didn't have an affair when I was fat. However, the sex went downhill, and we've always had amazing sex.
Yeah. But again, I've always, and I will still stand by this claim, because you weren't happy with you, your attitude was different, and that killed my sex.
Whatever. You was giving me obligation dick while I was fat because you really wasn't feeling me.
But again, the attitude and how how you felt about
You
yourself
okay?
and the attitude carried over,
Okay.
you were miserable to be around.
Okay.
So even
We will say part of it might have been my attitude. I will give you that. But we are not going to sit up here and act like. We are not going to even sit up here and pretend like while we being transparent with these people that watch our show. We are not going to sit up here and pretend like
that I like big girls.
Exactly. Exactly.
I didn't. So in transparency, had we not been married and together, no, I wouldn't. I would not have dated you. Okay, that's quite simply it. I've never dated a plus size woman. Never, and I've met plenty of plus size women that are pretty women, but just not what I like. And so yeah, I can honestly say that yes, that would have been a deal killer for me, had we not been together already. But I do think there's also a degree of maturity that I have as an adult. I'm 50 now, turning 51 this year. That I understand that again, things are going to change. I've noticed that I have more gray hair now. I have less hair on my head. So there are things that happen. I've had to up my workout routine to maintain, not to improve, but to maintain. And that's been very important to me. I will say though, as someone who does work out regularly, when you did get bigger and you weren't working out, that was kind of disappointing because, as I mentioned earlier, one of the things we did together when we first met, we were both physically active. We both worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
you were going to kickboxing class with me and everything.
I'd never done kickboxing.
And that
before.
was, like I said, I was doing that when we met.
Yeah, so not working out, not doing stuff, and even then, a few times I think.
But then you got to understand, in my defense, it got worse because I got injured when we first moved into this house. I got hurt really bad. And you ended up having to have surgery.
Yeah, and you did have pre-existing back problems.
Right. I ended up having to have surgery. I ended up getting 2 discs replaced in my neck. As a matter of fact, our producer remembers that because I was out. Anybody that watched the show for a long time remember that because I was out for a few shows. Lazar stood in for me while I was out. I had to have surgery. They replaced disc in my spine and everything. But that all it did was make the crap worse because now I really can't be physical. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just laying around basically trying to heal and got fatter. And the thing that really made me mad is none of y'all told me that I was fat as hell.
Okay, see, every time you say that, you know what my response is? We didn't have to tell you was fat. Your clothes told you was fat. The mirror told you was fat. The weight scale told you was fat. You just didn't listen to those 3. And the Bible talks about witnesses of 2 and 3. You didn't need me. You just wanted to, be fat and go to hell. That's all I got for you.
Did you say be fat and go to hell? So fat women go to hell?
No, fat women that are mean and have bad attitudes go to hell.
You know what? You know what? You know what?
I'm about to be on somebody's TikTok highlight
Somebody
reel.
is going to put you on. Look. Vaughn from Just Our Opinion Podcast say fat women go to hell because they scale and the mirror and they clothes told them they was fat as hell and they didn't listen to the 2 or 3 witnesses. That is the highlight. I want you to know
highlight reel.
I want you to know it right now. We even got LOLs in the comments. I'm telling you, you're screwed, dude.
It will also be the last date on my tombstone. I might die tonight, but
hey,
it is what it is.
Period.
But for all the men, I stood up. I finally said what y'all wanted to say. Just didn't have the nerve to say it.
I probably shouldn't be watching y'all while I'm sipping. LOL.
We're not reimbursing anyone for dry cleaning.
Right. Okay. Final part of our topic on how to just overcome obstacles in your marriage. I do wanna discuss the united front. Mm-hmm. Because I think we can end on discussing the united front because I think that one is huge. I personally believe that the moment you and your spouse stop being united in front of other people, the devil has a space now. Like the moment y'all show that y'all aren't in a cohesive space together, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it also can feel like betrayal to one or the other spouse
Yeah.
not being united, like you didn't have my back on this, and you didn't have my back on this in front of X, Y, and Z person. You know what I'm saying? And anybody in a relationship has felt that. Like you were supposed to have my back. Because at the end of the day, for me, I feel like that in a marriage especially, even if you feel like what I did was dead damn wrong,
Mm-hmm.
you fight this out with me in this space and then cuss me out in the car. In front of everybody else, we are united. And that's just how I feel it's supposed to go. So if something happened and we end up in a restaurant or something like that and all hell about to break loose and we about to get into a fight, I don't care how you felt like I could have done things differently in that moment.
Should have went to drive through. I knew it. Should have went to drive through.
That's how she got fat. I don't care how you felt like, I should have handled things differently in that moment. You rad for me in that moment. And then we discuss what you felt like I should have did differently when we get in the car.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't, go off on me in front of somebody that I'm already fighting with. You don't check out on me and while they trying to check out on me, like, and making them feel like you on their side with this. There's nobody walking this earth that should feel like you're on their side above me. And unfortunately, even in our marriage, I've had situations where I felt like somebody felt like they had a better hand with you than I did. So I think that's one that hands down is a problem for me. It's betrayal, and it can lead into a lot of other issues as well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I know we talked about that before. I think the other thing with the united front is also important with your kids, right? When you raise kids, having a united front with them as well, because you don't want them, running from one parent, being told no, and getting what they want from the other. So I think that's also important to do too. So the united front, not just with adult situations, but also when it comes to raising your kids, or I guess technically even family members, right?
Oh hell yeah,
Someone
family
calls to
members.
borrow money, and one says no, you can't have it, and the other says yes. That could be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's just or somebody want to borrow a car, and that cousin don't have a driver's license, and your
Or
spouse
even
don't.
or even you sneaking around doing something for somebody without your spouse knowing. That is not a united front.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a loan you this money. Don't tell my husband.
Yeah.
Don't tell my wife. Like that's not a united front, and that's showing whoever you're doing it for and
Mm.
with that you don't have any respect for your spouse, and you're willing to hide things from your spouse.
Yeah.
And it also goes back to what I was saying about making somebody else feel like they have the upper hand with your spouse over your spouse.
But don't come tell me after you did it though.
Okay, I can deal with that too. But like I said, there should be nobody
Yeah.
that feels
But
like they have
and,
that upper hand.
and I say that jokingly. I wasn't actually specifically saying you do that. I'm just kind of joking about that, but it makes me think of my middle daughter who, will call and ask for money sometimes, and because she has a track record of paying back, I'll loan it to her, and I may not say anything or not think about it and just go ahead and say yes, just because I know she's good at giving the money back. Now, I will say that obviously if I'm asked about it or if it comes up or I remember, I'm like, hey, she called and I loaned her X or whatever.
Right, right.
But especially, I think it's really important, so kind of like that's an established relationship. That's an established trust factor we have with that child,
Mm-hmm.
who's responsible to do it. I don't necessarily have that with any of my other kids. You know,
Well,
just say it like that.
those two ain't giving you no money back. They ain't listen.
But
they charge you $1,000 for a fake ice cube with no cup, so I know they ain't returning money.
But I say that to say that I do agree that yes, the united front is very important. It comes into play for a lot of different reasons and ways. But it's even like when you go shopping. If you're shopping for a car and you know you know you the salesperson gives one person more attention than the other, and the person getting the attention ain't the one who the car's for.
Right.
You know.
Right. Like, wrap this back around over here. You're not gonna disrespect me.
Yeah.
So we say that to say you have to be very intentional in marriage, I think.
Yep. You have to be intentional. Again, I think the key thing to go back to is that communication, having open, transparent communication. Making sure you're building trust. You're always building trust, even if you've never broken someone's trust. You're still building trust by acting with integrity, doing things, being truthful, being transparent. And if you have broken their trust, those are the things you have to do to repair it. So, I think those are two really important items that are involved in a marriage. And if you have good open communication that is not misconstrued or misinterpreted, by the party receiving it, then I think you have a better shot at having a successful marriage.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think there are a lot of other issues that we didn't really get into that can adversely affect your marriage. But I think what we talked about are some of the probably more key prominent things that.
Again, oh no, we'll dive into the other ones next week because a shitty sex life will make your marriage bad.
Yeah.
Money is a huge problem in marriages. So we'll talk about some of those next week.
Okay.
You with that?
Oh, we can do that.
All right, bet. Look, we thank y'all for kicking it with us tonight. I hope we were able to help some married people, like I said, using our test as testimonies. What's interesting is we are constantly in test. Like he said a couple of times, we haven't been speaking for the last 2 days. Like I think today is the first day.
We were talking.
I mean, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant.
I should say you were talking.
We had to have an emergency session with our therapist this morning. Like, so by no means do we have this shit figured out. Like, by no means do we have this figured out. But
I'm gonna get her straight. Don't worry.
But I'm willing to work until we do.
Amen.
And I think that's the important part.
Amen.
We're willing to work until we do have it figured out. Whether having it figured out takes us till death truly does us part, I'm willing to work until we have it figured out.
Found a place on Amazon that ships honey cheap, lots of it.
You trying to get me attacked by murder hornets. Again, thank y'all for kicking it with us tonight. This has been Just Our Opinion with Robin and Vaughn. We will see y'all next week.